G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Daniel Levan-Harris from Mango Logistics based in London, United Kingdom. Thanks for your time today, Daniel.
Hey Troy, good to see you. It's been a long time.
I think it's been about a decade. We're trying to work out when the last time was.
I think it is about a decade. So we were a little bit younger, not much.
Yes, and I think I had a little bit more hair then. I was living in London 2006 to 2000 and early 11, I think it was, or 2007. Let's start with how we know each other. Normally, I answer this question pretty quickly, but I was struggling to remember how we first met.
I do remember. It was around 2005, 2006. We both belonged to a network group called Business Junction.
That's right.
And the event was in Hoxton Square at I'm going juggling because I can't. A circus training place.
Oh, okay, right. Yes, I can't.
Square.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the place.
It was like a networking event stroke workshop. It was just they always did different network events, and it was circus training. And that's where I met you. And you were a partner in Lucidica, an IT company at the time.
That's right. Yeah, and my business partner in Lucidica, Thomas Jeffs, I had him on episode 150, but his wife, Rachel, actually worked for Business Junction. I think the founder's name was Mark from memory.
Mark and Fiona.
They were
the two founders.
Yeah.
Weirdly, thankfully, that's where I met my wife.
Oh, really? Okay.
at a Business Junction event. And it sounds... When you asking me telling you where that was, it sounds like I've got an amazing memory. I remember exactly where I met my wife as well. But yeah, it's just a weird memory. So yeah, that's a connection.
Yeah, I remember meeting and we hit it off and caught up a few times in those 3 or 4 years I lived in London for a few beers and talking business. And I thought you'd be a great guest to have on the cast.
Thank you. I remember the last place we met. That weird memory again. It was in off of Islington. There was a nice coffee shop there. We sat on the steps.
Yes, that's right. I remember that. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, I think there's a new coffee shop there called Redemption Coffee.
Yeah.
Look them up. They're brilliant. Redemption. All their coffee's brewed in prisons. They train baristas in prisons and they service the coffee machine.
That is a great idea. It's a social enterprise, I take
it? It's not a social enterprise, and it links into my startup. Actually, I'll mention it later on. But it's brilliant in terms of rehabilitation and training of prisoners. Costs about £100,000 to keep somebody in prison in the UK a year, and it's better society if we help them bounce back and get back on their feet, because I think the justice system is a bit broken.
Yes,
worldwide, I think with tech now is a much better way of getting people back on their feet and mixing in society, not mixing with the wrong crowds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not all crimes, but hey ho, that's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I hope to get over there in July for the Ashes. For Tom and I are very competitive when it comes to the cricket. For the international audience that don't understand what the Ashes are, so I'll hope to check it out and also catch up with you for a beer in July.
That'd be great. I'm very, very close to Lord's Cricket Ground. It's probably about 10 minutes on a bicycle, if that.
Oh, so. Sounds dangerous. Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
So it's Mango Logistics Group, logistics, which covers everything and nothing, and nobody understands what it means. So every time you say logistics, you have to explain it. So a little about what we do. So last mile delivery courier work, which is done on motorbikes, bicycles, cargo bikes like the one behind me, vans, and that's either dot to dot, moving documents between law firms, investment banks, etc. That's the old days. It doesn't happen that much anymore. So now is business to business. We move anything between intercompany movements, etc., or clients. We do international and overnight deliveries as well, and the main part of our business is warehousing, so fulfillment, e-commerce fulfillment, pick and pack, general distribution from the warehouse. And I would say our unique selling point is we've got warehouses very, very close to the centre. So our clients could order something and they can have it within an hour and a half in the centre of London. So there's a lot of courier companies, but the rest of them don't have warehousing. That's our key difference.
Oh, great. How did you start out?
Started out in 2004 with a business partner. We both put in £5,000 each. Open accounts with, at the time, DHL, FedEx, squeezed them down on prices. Had a few clients that were ready to jump before we set the business up. We put a margin on there. And that's how we started. Never looked back, really.
Right.
That was predominantly on next day deliveries and international. So that's where you could you piggyback on them to do that.
Yeah, because I remember when we met, you'd only been going a couple of years.
And at the time, I think that's what we were doing is next day deliveries and international.
That's it. Yeah, that's right. And how old were you back then in 2004 when you started?
30.
30? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the perfect age to set a business up. You've done your apprenticeship somewhere else. You've cost somebody else money learning and making mistakes with their money. And then you go, right, I think I know what I'm doing now. I need to set up on your own.
Maybe go back. Did you jump from corporate, or maybe go back a bit, tell the audience your journey there?
No, I grew up in Tel Aviv in a pair of shorts, walking around barefoot, racing high-performance sailing boats. So I was trying to get to Barcelona Olympics, which was in 92. I just missed out by a whisker. And I thought, I don't fancy trying again for another 4 years for the next Olympics. So that's when I moved back to the UK. All my family were there, or are in the UK. And I started off working initially as a sailing instructor. Pretty quick, didn't enjoy the weather here, so gave up sailing.
Yeah.
And I ended up working for my uncle, who had a private hire company. It's like cabs that you can only order over the phone, or at the time, so not ones that you can hail in the street.
Yeah.
So I was pretty good, I'd say, at winning business, and that was my job. So I was a sales and marketing manager, and I just learned my skills as I was going along, and happened to naturally be good at it.
And maybe tell the audience a bit about this new business that you mentioned.
Oh, if you start me on this one, that's all we're going to talk about.
We'll have to have you back on when it's been running for a little bit.
So it's called Edible. We are growing crickets and locusts as a future nutrition once the West comes round to accepting there's actually great protein and lots of other great things in insects. The West just needs time to get conditioned. I'm not taking on that job. I'm going to leave that to Netflix, and you only need 2 documentaries and it seems to do the job these days.
Yeah.
And that's the future, but we're doing a raise at the moment so over the next few years, until that market arrives, we'll be supplying premium pet food, so for dogs and cats.
Yeah.
That market alone is ginormous, so that's going to be the focus over the next few years until that market wakes up. But we're going to be growing them to human grade from day one, so when that market does start off, we just turn the switch.
Yeah. Right.
It's lots and lots of different insects, but we particularly picked crickets and locusts. They're not the easiest ones to grow, but they're the best. We think they're the best insects to start with. So we're going to be growing them inside a prison. We're going to be hiring inmates, train them up, hopefully take the good ones to come work for us on the way out. And through that time, we're going to build some automation, and that's the key to making this business super duper scale is the automation. So we're working very closely with some academics at Surrey University, where they're going to be helping us put all this together.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we'll definitely have you back on in a year or so, and when you can tell us more about how it's going.
That'd be great. Thanks, Troy.
Let's swing back onto Mango now. Do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business over the 18 years?
Started from zero, grew very quickly in the first year, I think, to about 300,000. Then it doubled that second year. And then it grew by another 50%, and then I think it was like 20% year on year for a number of years. I took a couple of steps back because I demerged the business at some stage and took half the turnover in clients, and my ex business partner took the other half.
What year was that?
Positions. So the business has not grown organically. I've acquired businesses within the business or have business partners that I bought out. So it's gone through a few evolutions. I would say in the last number of years, it's probably 20% year on year. This particular year is going to be about 40%.
Wow, that's great. That's amazing growth, Daniel. Well done.
Thank you.
And what year did your initial business partner exit?
2010.
2010, 6 years in. Yep.
Yeah.
And number of full-time
good guy. I'm still in touch with him. So it was just different vision, different aspirations in life. He's a good guy. Just we moved in different directions.
And so he's not a competitor then, because he wanted us to move in a slightly different way.
He's still only doing overnights and international.
Got it.
We're doing same day and storage, etc. And he's turning over the same amount we demerged from.
Yeah. Okay.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
That's why we're not together. He's very happy, hands-on.
Yeah.
You know, is three of them working in the business, and it's that he's making a good living. He just doesn't want to let go. So I didn't want to work in the business too many years. So
fair enough.
Directions.
And how many full-time equivalent team members did you start with? Was it just you and your business partner? And how many do you have now?
So we started two of us, and then I think we recruited one after a few months, etc. So now in the inside the business, 25, 26, probably always using about 4 or 5 temps on average, and then on the road probably another 35 who are not direct employees but contractors that cover out work for us with the courier work.
Right, yeah. So you've got a core team of just under 30 full-time, and if you were to throw in the contractors, you're probably over 50 full-time equivalents.
Probably about 60, 65.
That's fantastic. Well done, mate.
Thank you.
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
I never feel like I've succeeded.
More than half the people answer that way.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the other half say?
Some people will say, the moment I hit $1 million net wealth, money in the bank, or this big client contract, or
I constantly feel like a startup. I constantly feel like the whole lot's going to disappear overnight, and there's lots of attributes that entrepreneurs have, and some of them are dreamers, some of them are warriors. So I never quite feel like I've got there yet. I think sometimes taking a step back and reflecting, you go, actually, I've achieved quite a lot in life. Or I still haven't got to where I think I want to be. Otherwise, I think I'll stop living if I stop dreaming.
What does success look like to you?
Honest truth is, Troy, I struggle with this question because I never quite feel like I succeed. And whenever I get to that next goal, is another goal. So I keep on moving the goalposts to I consider an achievement. It's a hard one. I guess I've achieved different milestones, but I still don't feel a success. Whilst I don't like attributing, a monetary figure to that, I guess there is a figure that that'll put that ability to never need to work again and have a life that I would like financially. I guess is a degree of measuring success, but I don't measure it in money, and that's why I can't answer this question.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Perfect question for you. I've always loved your brand, and it looks like it hasn't changed since I first met you 16 years ago. What's the number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
The brand has changed in terms of look and feel. I mean, the logo's gone through a 2-3 iterations over time. The website and the look and feel and the strap lines. It's matured and got better, and probably looking more modern now than it did from the previous look and feel. But that's branding. I think you need a good brand to market it, and you need a good marketeer to market the brand. So they go hand in hand, I would say.
Yeah.
For me, is having your hot networkers around you. So, people that be your ambassadors. So having a great network is a must. I've built my business, my contacts, everything on all the networking I've done over the years. And I'll never stop. I love meeting new people. I love meeting people in business. But those people are the people who are going to shout for you. They'll recommend you. They'll repost your posts on LinkedIn and whatever else you're doing, your social media, and staying core to your brand. That's a big one. Having your values and they shine through your brand, and stick to them.
How did you fund your business? You mentioned you and your business partner. Sorry, you mentioned you and your business partner both put in 5,000 quid each at the start. Along the way, I assume you would have had to take some bank finance. Have you had any other investors along the way?
I've set business up with other business partners over the years that down the road I bought them out. But I've never had an investor. It's always been the business has grown organically with its own money. I'd say in recent years we've started borrowing. That's probably why we've accelerated the business. I do believe in borrowing money to accelerate the business, not to plug cash flow holes. So if the money's working, then I believe in borrowing it. I don't know what the business would look like if I did take on investment over the years and let go of some shares, but I just haven't. So I'm the sole shareholder these days.
That's great. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
There's a yes and there's a no. Probably is a no, just because I've done this for 18 years and I'm ready to do something else. The yes is because it's easy. I know it inside out. So I could probably, with very little money, get another business off the ground with what I know and the contacts I've got. So I can see why people go back into the same industry, because that's what they know and it's easy. But I don't like easy. I'm an entrepreneur, not a business owner. So probably not. There's other reasons. I think is every Tom, Dick, and Harry now is trying to get in the logistics business, from 10-minute grocery delivery apps that are failing to Amazon.
I was going to ask that pressure.
So it's just too many people trying to get in on it at the moment. So I probably wouldn't get back into the industry now.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
I think there's a degree of stress working for somebody. There's a degree of stress running your business. To try and define the biggest stress.
Was it one moment?
I think over the years, at the time, it feels like the most stressful thing ever. And then you look back years after, and you've had lots of them along the way. So to define one, the most recent one is taking a massive loan to take on a 24,000 square foot warehouse. So you add up the loan, the deposit that gets locked away for a number of years, taking an empty warehouse that you need to fill up very quickly. And you're signing a 10-year lease. So you're basically signing your life away. That, if it all goes wrong, is a lot of money there that you're going to owe. So that is fairly stressful, but I would say the most stressful thing was buying out the business partners. At the time.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
bringing in good people. That's hard work. And it's very hard to work out if they're good or not for a number of years. I've done all the psychometric tests and all the recruitment tricks and everything else that goes in the book. And until they're not in there, you don't really get to know the characters. So that's been the hardest, but also most rewarding, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Attributing the most reward is from my network. I think the networking I've done over the years, that's if I could give any bit of advice to anybody, is don't lock yourself in a room and meet people in business, get into conversations, ask questions, ask for help. People are happy to help, happy to introduce. Having a network is probably the most important thing, especially if you're a sole owner. There's some network groups out there where you got support as well. Where you can literally be honest about your business and tell them where you're struggling, and they'll help. So you definitely having a network.
Yeah, back on the people thing and finding good people. Well, I mean, as business owners, most of us, 98% of us, don't have a HR or management background, so we're pretty shit at recruitment, let alone managing people in their first few years. So you've really got to work on it to become to improve that skill.
And it is a skill, because it's a skill to say yes, it's a skill to say no. And you could be the boss that always says no, you could be the boss that always says yes. But it is a skill you learn. And I generally think through some of my weaknesses, which is my dyslexia is a big one of those. My biggest strengths being delegation, and it's delegating to the right people and learning to manage each person completely different to to others. And I think that's through dyslexia, where you get something to help you with your maths, and you get something else to help you with your English, and you just work out who's good at what and what can you do for them. Bring some lunch in for the guy that can't afford it, and stop the other guy getting bullied who's helping me with my English. So you work out things like that when you're younger.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
Managing people. Managing people, and like any growth is going to be, growing pains, and that growing pains in logistics normally means letting somebody down. And I'm fairly perfectionist on that, and I get really upset when we let people down. But it is the nature of the business in logistics that sometimes people do get let down, and that one I find really hard. So when you ask me stressful, it's letting clients down. I hate letting people down.
Yep. What do you love most about growing a small business?
People.
You're an enigma.
They're a pain in the arse, staff, but they're also they come, they're loyal, they're hardworking. They want the best for the business. They want the best for their families, as I do. It's hard work. It's something you pull your hair out. You judge people to a degree how you judge yourself. You expect from people what you expect from yourself, and sometimes you have to have a reality check that it's your business, not theirs. But treating people well is a must. But especially now with the job market, it's really tough.
Yeah, it is.
You have to hold on to people, and I think it's how you treat them. So strength and weakness, having lots of people working in an organization, much easier doing trade online.
Yeah, it's one of my sayings. I believe people are the hardest thing in small business, and where the value is at, because you obviously can't do it on your own.
But it's getting the ones early on is there. When it's really early days, if you thinking back to 18 years ago, the first few employees, we needed all-rounders. And ironically, when you got these all-rounders and you start to grow, they help you to grow. But then you get to another stage and you realize actually they can do a little bit of everything, but they're actually not very good at a lot of the things they do. But then you start getting specialists. And that's the hard thing to do, is that when can you afford the specialists? Where do you fit that person that's helped you get up those 2-3 steps, but and actually where to put them in what department anymore?
Yeah.
So I think you need a different team for startups and a different team once the business matures. But it's finding roles for the early stage employees is the hard one.
Yeah, totally agree. What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Believe it or not, focusing on marketing and branding in terms of my focus.
Yep.
So, I hate the analogy, work on the business, but it's all very well telling a small business owner that when they haven't got any money to pay anybody to do that other work. But you get to a stage where you do work on the business. You get dragged in once in a while, but I would say most of my time is working on the business. And we've got to a stage now, we get so many inbound inquiries. We don't do any. We hardly struggle to do any proactive sales anymore because the inbound inquiries are so good. So just stand out from the crowd, and I think the brand does the job for us really well, actually, especially in our sector.
The number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Oh, an octopus. An octopus. Adaptability to situations and relationships.
Want to become the best manager you can be? Check out our Kick-Ass Manager course at growasmallbusiness.com. Do the course, then add your fellow managers for no extra cost. Join the 30%. 70% of people quit their job because of their manager.
Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Mistakes, hiring people, I know. It's always been a bad one. I'm not suggesting they were friends necessarily, but people I did know, so acquaintances even. I think not knowing a person whatsoever and having somebody you've never met before, it puts a different relationship to that interview process. So that's definitely a no-no. Saying that, I had somebody early on that's helped us in the first year, and they were a friend. They were excellent. But that was always that arrangement, was they're coming in to help a little bit.
Yep.
Wins. Young people. Apprentices. I've kissed a lot of frogs, and we've got a lot wrong. But on the whole, I think they've been the best positive impact on the business is young people.
Yep.
Especially when they type 100 words a minute, some older people using these two fingers.
Yeah. What are some of the things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Sustainable kick-ass culture. Keep working at it. Stay strong on your core values. That's it. And some people are on board with those values, and some people aren't. But above all, I would say get rid of toxic people quickly. And that's something I've not always been good at. I've got rid of them, but not quick enough.
Yep.
Get rid of toxicity quickly in the business.
Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Between life and work?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate this question. I'm terrible at it. I am. I know what needs to be done in theory. I should sleep more, I should rest more. But I don't know if it suits my personality. I guess gym, swimming, and putting, for me, the only is not just going to the gym to train, it's training for something. So I need to put a goal in my diary. So it's normally an event that at the time when I'm booking on for it, it seems extreme and big.
Doesn't sound like you at all.
And then I think it's coming closer, and I start training. So I guess sports and training is always my balance.
Yep.
And I think I've got better in recent times. I really put tools down on the weekend, and it's very much chauffeuring around football games and things like that. So family time on the weekends, tools down, that's definite, and keeping fit. with a big goal in the future.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself over the years?
In terms of education?
Yeah, any courses or podcasts, books, training, conferences, etc.?
I do read or audiobook in the car from time to time. They're not always business books. I would say networking I keep repeating networking, meeting other people in business, talking business. I learn good from conversations and other people's experiences, and not too dissimilar to that. What hasn't worked is a good one. And you hear that from people that are in business and similar sized businesses that rolled their sleeves up and got burnt at certain things. That's where I learn the most.
Yep.
I also did a mini MBA, which was a CSR project that Goldman Sachs were running called 10,000 Small Businesses.
Right.
So yeah, it was breaking the business in pieces and putting it back together, putting a business plan over 6 months. And once again, it was, peer-to-peer learning, and you worked on your own business, not some imaginary business.
Yep. That would have been a lot of fun.
That was wicked. So.
Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
I have. I struggle with the word mentor, to be fair, and it's just how I relate to the word. To me, a mentor is the minute there's an exchange of money. I can't call him a mentor. I think I'm happy to pay a coach, but a mentor can't be an exchange of money.
No.
And a mentor doesn't have to be somebody that's, my son could be my mentor. It's for different things. You'll have different mentors. Talk about life, to talk about business. So I've got people around me. I've had a mentor that unfortunately I lost a couple of years ago. He passed away. And I have had coaches, and I do work with them still, but for specific things.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
I do. It's a small board, but yes, I do, and we meet once a month for management meetings. It's not diverse enough for my liking, but I'm working on that at the moment as well. I just want it to look a little bit different to how it does at the moment. So
the other people on the board are independents. They don't own shares. What background, what corner of the business do they have experience in?
So I've got one member of the board is my financial director. So he's a director and he works part-time.
Yep.
And then we've got non-shareholders, non-directors that we pay a fee to turn up for that once a month.
That's great.
I quite like it like that because they can be as blunt as possible.
Yes.
And they haven't got skin in the game, which is in that regard, it's actually good. So one of the people that acts as our, non-exec, non-director is also somebody that has coached me in the past, and that's where that hybrid role works for me.
Yeah, it's great. I'm an independent on a few boards, and it's good to be able to not have any shares and say, well, it was my money. It's your decision at the end of the day, but this is what I would do. And you're very frank and direct, and you can just not hold back. And that's sometimes what we need, because most entrepreneurs and small business owners have quite healthy egos. And if you don't have people that can, tell you the reality at certain times, you can get yourself in trouble.
Agreed. And I did used to think there needed to be directors and shareholders to have a room around that table, and I don't anymore.
No, they don't. Yep.
I'm learning a lot of this with the startup at the moment. Exactly. You've got certain people putting in a decent amount of money, and they want a place around the table, and it's like, okay, I can offer you an advisory role, but yeah, I'm not giving you a directorship just because you've turned up and you want to put some money in.
Right, Daniel, we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
People.
Me too. Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
I tell you the book that's helped me the most in recent times, because for different times, for different situations, it's not actually an out-and-out business book, to be honest. I'm not answering your question, but it's The Chimp Paradox.
Right. Mm-hmm. What's that about?
It's about us having a chimp brain, and a human brain, and the chimp brain being the impulsive, the reactive, that's there to protect us from millennial probably, and gets in the way sometimes. And it's how do you manage that chimp brain, because it is the bigger brain. And it's a brilliant book. I couldn't recommend it enough. And it's helped me in life and business, to be honest.
Great. I'm going to add that to my list.
Yeah, because I do run a lot on gut instincts. So gut instincts can be really good, but they can also be really bad.
Yes.
So it's taking that time to stop, think, work out people's reactions around you.
Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
I listen quite often to Joe Rogan. And every time I mention it, somebody wants to pull me into a whole conversation about him. And it's not about him. He just happens to have great visitors on his show. That's it. I do so much business. I do so much talking all day, and I hear people talking so much that when I am reading books or listening to podcasts, I need to do non-business stuff. I relate the connection to business and so on, or I get ideas from listening to them. I know a lot of these books are the same books I've read 15 years ago, and they're just explained slightly differently. But I can't, the world of business doesn't change that much. Tech has changed, and how we use tech and social media, etc. Yes, but its general concepts don't change. So as a new book comes out and it's written very differently to an old book, but generally it's the same stuff. So I like learning new stuff about nutrition.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
A network. A really good network around you. I've been a bit useless with this interview. I keep answering the same things, but
we could have been done in 7 minutes.
Yeah, people and network. That seems to be my go-to answer. But it's true. You need a network around you for good days, for bad days, and for days to ask questions. And that having a good support, and that could be friends, family, other business owners. It could be local business owners, but very quickly having that network is either, if you've got it, great. If you haven't, build it and have it on meaningful relationships. And these businesses could be from a completely different work of lot. They don't have to be in the same industry. They don't even have to be the same size. But yeah, network.
Finally, my favorite question: what would you tell yourself on day one of starting out 18 years ago?
But I'd probably ask that question you would ask me, which was, what does success look like? I probably failed quite a few years ago and reached it too quickly. Are you sure you want to get into logistics?
Mate, thanks very much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and reconnecting. It's been over 10 years. We'll certainly have a beer next year if I'm over there for the Ashes. I do remember those times we caught up in London and had a really good sense that you were going to go on and achieve these great things. Even only meeting you a couple of years after starting, I could tell that you've got the drive and the smarts about you. So congratulations on the growth, up to around 60 team members now. Phenomenal top line growth percentage-wise over the years, and still here 18 years on, and congratulations.
Thank you, Troy. Look forward to seeing you in July. If you come here, we'll take you out for some beers. It'd be good to see you, man.
That'd be great. And I'll have you back on for the new business.
That'd be great. Take care.
And for our audience, we would greatly appreciate a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. More reviews means we bubble up higher in iTunes, etc. So more business owners looking for podcast help with their growth will find us.